I believe that having less stuff in your life means that you can handle a crisis with a lot less stress. And that's any crisis. I believe it makes you more efficient and more productive. But more importantly, it allows you to better focus on what really, really matters in your life. Hi, I'm Wendy, the Brainy Biscuit at brainybiscuit.com, head Brainy Biscuit. Okay, so welcome to my conversation. Today I'm going to be talking about minimalism in a crisis and can it help? I think so, and these are my points. I hope you'll think so by the end of this little video. So let's crack on, let's get into this. I want you to imagine waking up in the morning and your house is on fire or your house is flooding, okay? So what do you grab and take with you? Or what do you risk your life going back into your house to save? What's essential in your life? And yet, most people probably don't spend much time thinking about what is essential, what's important in their lives. We focus on so much other stuff. Okay, so when the COVID-19, the corona crisis first happened, panic buying ensued and people hoarded food and bottled water and even toilet paper. And yeah, I wish I'd had shares in toilet paper companies at that time. And that's really, really understandable. And although a crisis can make you hoard, after a little while a calmer head can prevail. But, a crisis can make you look at things differently. And I mean any crisis, I don't just mean this terrible crisis that everyone's been going through. A crisis can help you remove things that you found to be non-essential. So we're heading, I hope, please God, out of this particular corona crisis. And I know certainly in the UK and in Europe, things are easing for us. And I do hope that's the case in the States. And having that time, it's made me think about how people react in a crisis. And yes, after the initial panic, it's given us time to look at our lives differently. And it's given us time to look at how we use our home and our space and to see what genuinely matters. So this is an opportunity to look at what may be non-essential. Okay, so if you remove, and I think we've all lived with a lot of clutter this crisis that we might not have wanted to, but if you remove non-essential stuff from your life and your home and your business, I think you can become calmer and more focused. And it's necessary to create a calm environment if you want to think and act with purpose. And this crisis has let us do this. And indeed, in any crisis, being calm and being able to think is a good thing. I'm sure you'd agree with that. When you go through difficult times, you have an awful lot more to deal with. And this environment's really important. So clearing your space gives you more time to think. So I think that's an important thing. Not having to clean and tidy, and I'm really lazy, I hate cleaning and tidying, or maintain non-essential items can give you this sense of freedom and control. And this sense of freedom and control is very, very important. We may never go back to what we thought of as normal. The ability to be flexible is going to be much, much more important, I think, as we move forward. And as we move forward, I think we'll have learned a lot. Some things will be really, really good, and others will be bad, I think. But either way, we're going to have to adapt to deal with it. And it's how you adapt that's important. And especially if you want to live your best life. I know I want to live my best life. And that's very much what I want for you guys as well. Your best life, no matter what the world actually throws at you. And I'm sure you all agree we're looking at a new normal and no one has any clue what that's going to look like, what that's going to be. So I suppose the big question is, do you want to be independent and flexible and strong? I'm sure you do. So having and needing fewer possessions does that in one simple step. It also helps you tackle challenging and exciting situations more easily. Getting a new job, starting a new business, moving home, a new relationship, or anything else. All of these things are stressful changes in your life. And when it comes to making changes, I think you face them much more calmly if you've got fewer things, sorry about that, guys, fewer things to worry about, okay? Having fewer things can help you with financial stability. Living a simpler life gives you a hell of a lot more money. Obviously, you'll save money if you're not buying new stuff all of the time. Buying less will help you save more, which is a great bonus, as long as obviously you don't, go off and buy something else to replace some of the stuff. Obviously, you will save money if you buy less stuff you particularly don't need in the first place. But living and spending with intent also costs less because you don't need to maintain the things. You don't need to maintain the stuff, the possessions. It also costs a lot less to organise and to store and to manage your things. Now here's two really scary numbers for you. In the UK, people spend £540 million just storing excess stuff. And I think that's set to grow. I really do. And you know why I think that? Because in the States, it's over $39.5 billion. That's in addition to the money that people spend buying things in IKEA that they don't really need, to store things they didn't really need in the first place. So, I think having less stuff might be a way to go. Okay, so that's just my thoughts on calming your environment, becoming a little bit more financially stable, having to do less stuff and focusing on the important things. But during this particular crisis, this coronavirus crisis, people have been worried about, their health and family and friends, obviously. And they've been worried about money. People have lost their jobs and people have had reduced hours. And certainly here in the UK, a lot of people have been furloughed. So that's meant that their normal income has been reduced, sometimes significantly. In some cases, they've been receiving a lot less money. And this is a big additional pressure at this particular time in your life. It's something you've got to deal with. But if you're going through any crisis, having to worry about money all of the time adds additional stress. It's an additional pressure. So minimalism and owning less stuff can obviously help, with worrisome financial concerns. It's something to think about, If you're a person that buys less stuff and is more thoughtful with what you do, you will carry less debt, and less debt is very freeing. It's less to worry about. Having smaller bills, smaller subscriptions, smaller memberships, and all of the other things that frankly you wouldn't miss if you didn't have them, can give you a huge sense of freedom. So back to that burning building. Would you run back into the burning building to rescue your Netflix subscription? I think not. Minimalism looks different for everyone. It looks different for me. Like me, your life is very different. So honestly, I probably still own way too much stuff. But consider just for a moment if you had to pay each month for essentials only, for your food and if you had to pay only for essentials, your food, your utilities, your rent or your mortgage, or maintaining your car. Would this give you more financial freedom? Would you be able to work less and have more time to do the stuff that you really want to do? With the burden of making ends meet being lifted from your shoulders, would you be happy spending more time with your family and your friends? You know, I think the other thing to think about is have a good sort out. You know, the thrill of hurling things into bin bags, trash bags, you know, the excitement of finding things you'd lost in the back of the wardrobe or the back of the cupboard that you'd forgotten about. You know, shopping your own wardrobe, things that you haven't seen or worn for absolutely ages. I know that's a thrill for me, and you've got to get your thrills where you can in a crisis. You know, or imagine getting rid of all of that crap permanently and only having the things and, dare I say it, people in your life that you really, really love. Lots of people have found that this particular crisis has sharpened their focus on what really matters to them, what matters to you. Perhaps you're one of those people. Maybe it's time to clear out your life generally and your cupboards so you can get back to what's really, really important to you. Just a quick aside, yeah, have a good clear out, get rid of all of the stuff, you know, have the piles, the keep, because you love them, the things you're thinking about you may need as life changes back to the new normal. And then most people normally have a pile to donate, and that's fantastic. And particularly in a crisis, other people need the things that you don't. So things that you might want to donate might be really, really useful to people who've had a really rough time as we come out of this situation. But what I did want to say is think carefully about donation. You know, donation centres and charity shops are absolutely brimming with stuff that we have thrown away because we just don't want it anymore. And I really do think that we should think more about putting things into our lives than just throwing it away on a whim. You know, yes, it's great to donate, but landfill is full of unwanted clothes. And if you don't want it, yes, please, that somebody else might be able to get value from some of the really good stuff you've got. But, you know, just trashy clothes and broken toys and things that don't work anymore. So I would caution against donation, and I would ask you to buy more mindfully in the first place, or maybe to go around and think about selling some of those items to recoup some of that investment that you made in them in the first place. I know that's not everybody's viewpoint, but it is my viewpoint. So heading back to getting rid of some of this stuff, you know, just moving towards minimalism can feel terrific. A good clearing out is cathartic. Particularly if you refuse to replace all the crap that you got rid of in the first place. That can be a really, really good start. Don't just fill up the space. You know, have the rule sort of one in, one out. So once you've done this big clear out and you go out and you decide you're going to buy something else, you know, just buy one thing, take it home, and then something else has got to go, people. It really does. You'll save money by doing it this way, and you'll have more control. Imagine that wonderful feeling of control. And that's not bad just for filling a few bin bags, is it? Okay, so I think the point is with all of this stuff, people try to find security in material possessions. And if you don't have many material possessions, I can understand that. Far too often, people try to find security in material possessions. And if you don't have many material possessions, I can understand that the ones you have are truly meaningful to you. But let's look at our general society. You know, material possessions, buying more and hoarding more and more. Those possessions do not give you security. They will not keep you secure. Things that will give you security are your family, your friends, your loved ones, your neighbours. Those are people that can help with your security and your feeling of well-being. That sense of community is much more important, I think, than buying more stuff. And I think we buy things for all the wrong reasons. We buy things to make ourselves feel good. Guys, we should be investing in ourselves and in our talents. You know, in times of crisis, things become sharper in focus and we start to question our basic beliefs. And we need to find different ways forwards. And you and your talents are one of those ways forwards. And you and your talents are one of those ways forward. I'm not suggesting, by the way, you throw away all of your stuff. What I'm suggesting is that minimalism can help with your focus and your control, so you can spend more time on what matters. And going through a crisis, you need to spend more time on what matters and more energy on what matters. Whether this crisis for you is global or personal, or whether it's a different kind of crisis, it will take you time and energy, and you'll find it draining. And having time to spend to work things out rather than on stuff, I think, is really crucial. One last thought, and it's a really important thought. I'm doing this little video because I have a choice. I can choose to declutter, and I can choose to be more minimalist in the way that I live my life. I have options about how I spend my money, and I hope you have options about how you spend your money. I have options about what I do and do not do, what I do and do not own. Think for a moment about all of those people in the world who do not have these options. There are places in the world that have terrible, terrible poverty, where the idea of throwing things away just because you have too many is totally, totally unimaginable. Their lives may well be minimal, but not through choice. They don't have the luxury of choosing what stays and what goes. And imagine going into a crisis when even your basic needs are not met. Picture how scary this would be. It would be scary for you. It's very scary for them. And I do hope that you haven't had to become more minimalist during this particular crisis because your circumstances have changed so negatively. That's just awful. So I'm sorry if that's happened to you. But Western cultures, we need to think more about the choices and our perspectives. Minimalism can help you with these perspectives, people. So just take that breath, that calming breath, and relax and think about what you could do with that space if it wasn't cluttered, or if your mind wasn't racing at 100 miles an hour trying to think about how to solve your financial problems, and you could focus on what's important for you and your family and friends during any crisis, and particularly this crisis. So I hope that's given you some food for thought. It's just me and the way I view my world, but I do think it has merit. So consider it if you will. Just take those 5 minutes, because I really do want you guys to live your best life. And for a few simple changes, I feel with my heart and soul that you absolutely can. So all that's left for me to say at the moment is, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. Please also follow me on Instagram, the Brainy Biscuit, or head on over to brainybiscuit.com, where I blog every week about minimalism and midlife and starting a business. So good luck, whatever happens with your minimalist journey. And all I have to say now is bye now.